Hello, adventurers, and welcome back to the Legend of Kelamentura side bit series. It's not really a recap series, and it's not really this isn't a recap. This isn't another lore dump or settlement breakdown. I haven't done one of those for a goddamn while. You know yourself, do one about Iceborne. I mean, you've kind of already, as it's been going, been doing one, but yeah. No, this is a kind of a little side piece, really. Just kind of talking. I think I've done one of these kind of before, so it's kind of a sequel to that. Where I think I called it my how I got into D&D, like my session 0 or whatever the hell I called it. Where I kind of got into it through, well, for me, it was the Critical Role podcast. Kind of literally stumbled across it, or someone might have talked about it in work. But I found out that, oh, this is decent. Sat and just was a listener for a long time. I think the guts of 2 years, which now looking back on it, I think I started listening around the time Campaign 2 started, but I started with Campaign 1. That's how I started, at least. And was listening to the podcast kind of casually in work, and then I started watching the videos like in the first couple of sessions. I mean, like the when you had the full Geek and Sundry days. Even like this is what's his name? Oh, the Tiberius Stormwind Oranakaba. Him. Even the games with him in it. That's when I started watching. I listened and /watched to all of that. And then just carried on with Campaign 1 and got it to 2 and everything else. So I'm not going to go back over the backstory, but that's where I got into it. And I just sat for the best part of 2 years just listening and going, you know what? This game seems really fun. I'd love to give it a go. Went online. I think I went onto Reddit, I believe it was. Yeah, Reddit looking for games. Scoured Reddit, found a Discord server. It was the D&D NI. Got into there. I thought, oh, there we go. People in the line play this. Happy days. Got on, got chatting to a bunch of ones in there. Had like a D&D 101, how to play the game type thing with a couple of guys in there. One person who's he's like a sort of forever DM almost. Nice few sessions here with him, kind of got me into it. And then got then a few weeks, and then a wee bit went by, and then saw another DM who is now Lorilla in Legend of Kelamentura was posted looking for players for a Frozen Stick campaign. It's one of the D&D modules. So I says, yeah, what the hell, I'll give it a go. And he's got dead on, we're going to start at this date, the session 0, sat down, played through all of that. And as time went by, kind of just sitting, playing, going, oh, this is a bit of crack, this is decent fun. Chatting and getting into it. And then the players and my character, I still have, good old Dwarg, Twice Orphaned. I don't know if I've mentioned him in the video. I might do a video, and if I haven't already done one, I might do one talking about him. Some of the PCs I've come up with. But as it was kind of just, he was leveling up, and then it kind of got to, oh, he's now level 3. He's a fighter level 3. Pick a subclass. And I kind of had an idea for my own subclass. Spoke to Nick about it. He said, yeah, go ahead. And long story short, the subclass didn't work. I mean, I still have the idea. The only problem is I'm using D&D Beyond for character management, and D&D Beyond, no harm to you, fantastic. I love D&D Beyond, is where all my sheets are. It's where I run my encounters through D&D Beyond, all the rest of it. I have subscriptions. It's class, and it's great for throwing together like items and spells and stuff, but holy fuck. At least when I tried the subclass thing, creating the subclass thing was a pain in the ass. It is not intuitive at all. It's difficult. It's tricky and difficult to use. I might give it another go at some point and then beg Nick to let me swap. I don't know if I can get it to work, but I just didn't enjoy it. Slight tangent. I kind of had all these ideas for Dwarg's backstory, and I kind of just gave Dwarg a really probably generic backstory. You know, oh, he's a fighter who's lost everybody, and he's on a quest for vengeance. You know, not exactly the most original backstory, but I don't know, I just came up with names, characters, locations, events, things that happened to this one character, and tried to create my own subclass and go down this path of, let's really build up this character. And Nick turned around and says to me, have you ever thought about running a game? And I was like, I haven't. He says, you should give it a go. And, well, here we are now. I think that's probably 2-ish years ago. That's probably around 2 years ago from he said that to me. And Legend of Kelamentura was born from that. So this long rambling intro over with. This is kind of a video that I want to talk about how I create things in the world. Like how I come up with the names and everything else. And where the story comes from. I'll talk about what's happened so far in the campaign. I don't want to talk about anything that I've got future hooks, future bits and pieces, because I don't want to spoil the campaign. There are people who might be listening to this who, you know, I've talked to you previously. You might know some bits that's coming up, so please don't fucking post anything in the comments, please. But you know stuff I've got planned, either short form or slightly longer form. And, I mean, yeah, it's kind of... Some people know some things, and I know everything, and I still, to be completely honest, I know the major beats, and I know what I want to happen. Like, we're in the middle of the Iceborne arc at the moment, and I'm like, okay, after Iceborne, there's going to be, you can go this way, or you can go this way, or you can go this way. Giving it up to the players, and then when the players decide where they want to go, I'll go, right, okay, and go ahead and flesh it out. But Kelamentura started off, well, the name Kelamentura was a friend of mine way back in secondary school. The two of us sat in the bus going to and from school, and we had an idea to start writing a book. And the book was going to be Game of Thrones POV-esque, but swap between his character and my character. Basically, it was going to be, you know, we were both brothers, we were like twin brothers, or brothers, I can't remember what it was, but brothers that had been separated at a young enough age that we didn't remember each other. And his character was going to be like a mage, magic user, a weaver as we called them. And my brother was going to be a warrior. So warriors and weavers. And we had Kelamentura was, I believe, the nation that we were going to set it in. Like, Kelamentura was this world nation that the story was going to happen in, and it was all about these two brothers going off and having this epic adventure to, you know, overthrow the monarchy, establish a republic, you know, and the two of them would eventually figure out who they were. And we had big things with gods, and it never went anywhere because we're 15, 16, and it just didn't happen. But that's where the name came from, is Kelamentura. I literally messaged him one day and said, hey, I'm going to do a D&D thing, and I've got Kelamentura as a name. Do you mind if I take it? And he was like, yeah, go for it. So that's where the name came from. And the initial plan for this, what is becoming a long form critical role type thing, for lack of a better word of describing it, is it was initially going to be a wee shorty, little short campaign that was going to finish at Steelborough with it was going to finish at Steelborough with the fight with Ursil. That is where the game was going to stop. And I think back in the logs, that's now session... Ooh. Where's my quest log? Sorry, I want to get this right. So, Ursil... yeah. The Ursil fight finished in session 9. So session 9 was we finished that. And we're now, next week is session 26. So I've already tripled it, and there's no end in sight. There is, but it's a long ways off. So it was originally going to be that. And I had everything up until Ursil was pretty much planned out. It was going to be that. Kind of everything the party did. Got the introduction in Terran, and then went off, and we're going to have the introduction with... It was like this short little side quest of, well, you find someone on the road, you return them to the town. You go on to the next town and fight this big Draco bear, and that was going to be the end of it. But the more I sat with the ideas and the things I'd come up with, I just kind of built the world out. Like, there was going to be, like, it was Terran, Brewstock, Steelborough. And I think over time I created, other cities, other, like, okay, well, here's the capital, is Mentura. We have these port cities. Vesta, Kivik, Port Murray, Fort Titan in the north. And then Iceborne was a completely out of my ass name idea. That's why it's not on the map that you guys see in the YouTube video every other week. Was I came up with the major settlements and then I hit on the Iceborne idea. Literally just sat one night with backstories. I just kind of built things as I came along. I would have ideas, write them down, and suddenly we had the Council of Mentura came to me one night. Just bits of inspiration that I was just sat there going, no, suddenly there's this whole political power and there's a whole council, succession-based polyarchy. There was a war with this nation and suddenly there's lore and there's history. And before I knew it, what was supposed to be a little short campaign that would have ran for 9-10 sessions has grown into a campaign that I don't know how long it's going to be. Oh boy, that's a scary thought. But yeah, it is a lot. Not all of it, but a chunk of it is definitely inspiration or just ideas. Or I'll be reading something, I'll be looking at something, and I'll just have an idea of, like, what if you have this council? Okay, what are we going to call them? I decided to name most of the council members after my players. This is kind of, hey, you guys are in the world now. You helped me create this, which they really did. So here's, you are now part of the world, quite literally. And other parts of it was taking the player's backstory and putting it into the world. Which has been a massive, massive help. Like, I'm not saying everybody's giving me backstory that I've put into the world, but I try to use everybody's backstory to build plot hooks and part of the world, which is, I think, listening to, like, other podcasts or talking to bits and pieces, and the player DMs talk about how your players come to you with a backstory, and you try to integrate the backstory into the world. Either you take their backstory, and that is now, you create an order, you create a temple, you create a city, you create a town off of the backstory. And it's just something that's there, and the players can go to it and interact with this player's backstory. Or it becomes a plot hook, or an entire fucking arc, which is where Achilles came in, and he gave me his really nice backstory, which I think pretty much all of it has come out at this point in the campaign. I don't want to go over it again, in case something hasn't come out. But he gave me the backstory, gave me, the NPCs in his backstory. This is where he's from. Storm's End, again, that's why that's now literally on the map. It's because it's in his backstory. Same with feckin' Zephyr and Ariadne. These are places that didn't exist to the players, but hey, this is where I'm from. I ran with it. Oh, God. Crazy. So yeah, the Iceborne arc. Achilles told me that he gave me the backstory and says he's on a quest to look for this thing, which is the Blade of Storm's End. And along the way, he encountered these people in the past called the Defiant. When he sent me his backstory, I had the idea, the thought for the long campaign had taken root, but I didn't have a name for the cult that the party were going to be chasing down. I had ideas, like basically everything else is there, but I didn't have a name. I didn't have a motivation. I had kind of a motivation, but it was kind of up in the air and a wee bit stringy. Achilles came in, gave me the name, and I went, there we go. That's their name. That is now the cult you guys are chasing down. That is their name. Here's their motivation. And the world just kind of, at that moment, just went ka-chunk and clicked. And I went, ooh, there we go. That was a piece that I needed to help me propel everything forward. And even the Iceborne arc, that just came to me out of nowhere. Because when the party decided to go to Iceborne, they had a choice. after Steel Bar and everything. They went to Mentura and had this festival thing. And when they were there, they were given, if you remember from the recaps, this one we had Gimme back with us, our shadow monk. I forget what race he was. But we had the monk with us. And she was out looking for her husband, and she had other motivations that were going to drive her forward in the plot. And basically, a case of I went, oh, okay, you people, these, I think they were the two that had given me the most to work with for backstory. Okay, literally down to the party. Where do you want? It was going to be, where do you guys want to go? Ultimately, Gimme decided. Ultimately, the player backed down from the campaign for time commitments and everything else. So kind of, it slightly shoehorned the party in a direction of going north, which, yeah, I don't know. It worked out really well because of the entire Iceborne arc, which, again, I came up with Iceborne when he had mentioned in Achilles, he gave me the backstory, and so he's looking for this thing. And I went, okay, well, where would that be in the world? And I had the idea of it was going to be somewhere remote. There was rumors and sightings of the blade or someone with the blade and everything else. And yeah, then just headed north from there. Well, they went through Golden Fields first, and Golden Fields was an idea that I had at one point. It was kind of like Golden Fields was one of the options the party, literally was one of the contracts the party took in Terran. So Golden Fields was kind of there from the start as well. It got a lot more fleshed out once we got the rest of the party together and had backstory and more ideas to work off. But Golden Fields was always there. It just got more as I went along. And Iceborne really just came out of nowhere, really. I mean, it's kind of inspired by Whitestone in Critical Role. Kind of in northern locations being rebuilt. Yeah, so there's a bit of Whitestone in there, kind of. I suppose it really is actually kind of my version of Whitestone. But that's kind of where the base inspiration came from. But the plot hooks and everything else of, okay, you're going to go up there and go to the town, and they're going to need you to do things for them. And I just kind of roll with the punches, really, with my party, because they love to throw curveballs at me, like speaking with the giants, getting friends with them, bringing them to the town, and everything. I was like, okay, well, yes, we'll go with that now. So this is very rambly and chaotic, but that's my process. It's rambly and chaotic. I sit down with an idea and I chase the idea, and I have an end goal, and I have beats along the way. The party goes from beat to beat to beat to beat, and you get to a point of, like, they're in the Iceborne arc at the moment, and they're going to go off into the wastes and hunt down these Defiant members up north. Going to find some shit and come back, and then they're going to have the next plot beat, which comes up like, here's a breadcrumb, here's something to follow. Do you want to go this way? Do you want to go that way? And they're going to get, as they go along, pick up names and things and little breadcrumbs and hints of future story. And then at some point, they'll come to a case of, okay, here are basically, you are here, you can go here, 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 or here. Where do you want to go? And then when the party decide they want to go down a certain path, I then sit down and go, okay, you guys are on this path, you're going to be going this direction, you're going to learn X, Y, Z, you're going to encounter these NPCs who I kind of already have rough ideas for. I have plans that are so far in advance, it's not even funny. I have endgame plans, and the party aren't in the endgame yet. Like, the party is kind of, if this is a story, this would be Act 1. It's like introduction to the party, introduction to the world building saga. Here's their first struggle, which is Iceborne. And then they come back, and then we get into, kind of into Act 2 almost, if you will, where you have established the good guys, you've established the bad guys, and now we're going to go off and begin Act 2. That's kind of post-Iceborne in my head. And then depending on what's the party do have choices to make in the future, and those choices will have consequences. I'm not going to say what they are, But I do have thoughts about what, like, there's, I don't want to give away anything. This is where the trouble comes up. Again, I've spoken to ones about this, and you kind of know what's coming next in some regards. But the party's going to go off and make a choice. And depending on what they choose, something's going to happen somewhere else. It kind of already has happened. I've kind of retroactively done things. Because they went north, they didn't go with the Gimme leaving thing. I had a whole thing planned for her. And they could have gone that way. But they went north. So Gimme is retired from the party. But I still have the idea there. And I went, okay, well, the party didn't go down that path. They went this way instead. But the story still happens. I was like, well, I'm not going to throw away all the work I've done. So things are going to happen. Things have happened in the world, and the party's going to learn about them in the next couple of sessions. If you went this way, then therefore this happened. And then they're going to have future bits and pieces, and what happened there is going to inform things that happen elsewhere, and they go off and they go somewhere else, and then at the end of whatever the next arc is going to be, something else is going to happen, which again is going to inform decisions of what happens after that and how well the party performs. They are genuinely writing their own story, which I've kind of done by accident. I try not to shoehorn the party or railroad them. At times you kind of have, I don't know. I haven't had to railroad them yet. I don't think I have. Apologies if I have. But I try to keep things as open as possible and let the party tell the story. And you do this, you meet these people, you do this, you establish these things. And yeah, it just depends on what they want to do next, really. And that's going to write their own story, and I'll come up with things. And when they decide we want to go this direction or this direction, I have the bare bones of those threads laid out. And I have threads beyond that and threads beyond that. Some of it will probably never get, some of it might not get touched at all. But things will still happen in the world. Just because, for example, in the story, just because the heroes go off somewhere, the heroes go off one direction, they don't go off somewhere else, things still happen elsewhere in the world still turns outside of the party's purview and influence. So, yeah, they're going to learn that in the next session or so. And then as the world turns, depending on where they go, other things are going to happen. I don't want to say what those things are going to be, but they're not good things. They're very much not good things. And again, they are tied into backstories. Like, you go this way, you're going to get into this person's backstory. And I try to tie other people into it, so it's not just you are only going after this NPC, this PC's threads. Otherwise, everybody loses interest. Which, that's why we had Duchess's thing in Iceborne. Was because she came to me with the amnesia backstories. Like, I think it was, I'm not great at backstories. My character has amnesia. I'll let you decide. And I went, okay, you were Duchess and you're Sertan and brrr, and everything that came from that. So yeah. That was all she says to me. Here you go. I have amnesia. Okay, I looked at the background. I looked at the character in the background. And I thought, okay, well, you know what? Let's give you something slightly traumatic and interesting. That's what has been revealed in Iceborne. Bjorn as well is also informed future products. And there's a whole arc and things for Bjorn as well. And Lorilla. Well, Lorilla's a hermit. She's kind of just there for the ride. But, as you're aware, there is a Feywild apocalypse. That's where Lorilla is off fighting and dealing with. And that is something that is very much on the back burner. I've given it some attention, not much. Because it is like, in my head, that is a high-level party resolution thing. I might tweak it and change it as thing goes along. But yeah. Lorilla's backstory is effectively this whole other arc that I've kind of got sitting there, and I've kind of ideas for it. But we'll see what happens. And even low, recently I've kind of got back into the backstories and kind of fleshed out and given players information about the world. You would know this, you would know that. You don't know this, but such an one does. Try to build up the characters more. And I spoke with Lo at one point. We had a discussion about where is Lo from? Because it kind of ties into the story, but the whole Lee thing up in the Wastes, sorry, in the ice picks. I was like, you're sending him to your village. I went, okay, well, I need to have a village for Lo now. It was this ethereal thing, and now it's become real. So I had conversations with him, and here is your village. Your village is here. There is these people. Well, I'm going to NPCs. But your village is here. That's where he's going. And it is going to be located here. And off the back of that, I've got something else planned. Another future side quest / plot hook that is going to take the party in a different direction. And ties them into another part of the world. And more organizations and everything else. And oh my god, I can't stop. It is, you just sit down, have an idea, write it out. And then, well, what if they do this? Well, this would happen. And what if, and then they have this? These scattered threads just spread out across all of my mind and Kelamentura. And the party go places and learn things and do things and interact. And I have ideas for, you are going to do this railroading down this path. Of course, they're not going to. But you have the idea of, you go here, you meet X, you do Y. It never happens that way, but that's the dream every DM has. But the fact that it doesn't happen like that is actually better for my creative. It was better for the creative process, I think. Because they throw things at you, like the giants. Or anything else that I can't remember off the top of my head. And suddenly the story shifts and changes to accommodate what the players are doing. You go, okay, well, the giants... Well, you now have the giants with you. They're in Iceborne. You've spoken with them. The council are aware of the giants, and the giants are now part of the story, part of the council. They're allies that the party have, along with the goblins in Goldenfield. They're allies that the party have, ready to go. And in the future, they can make more allies. They can make more friends. They can make enemies. They're going to meet the bad guys as they go. They're going to meet the key players and everything else and figure out the plot over time. But yeah, I have the plot in my head, kind of semi-written down. And as the more the players interact with the world and throw curveballs at me and force me to adapt and kind of work around and think, while I'm in a session and they're talking, then they suddenly start flirting with a bartender or asking for fire water. Or they do something stupid and funny. They're doing that. And in the back of my head, I have ideas popping off. Of like, you know what? Let's do this. Let's take this interaction. What if you do that with this really important NPC? And who's that really important? Oh, there could be this person. And you've got this person, and you've got this person, and this ties into your back. Oh my god. It is absolute chaos, and I love it so fucking much. Oh. So yes, this is rambly. This is just me literally talking to a mic with no script, and the dog's running in the background. I don't know if you heard them barking there, but someone wheeled a bin and spooked Buzz. Oh boy. So, my creative process, in a nutshell, the TLDR, my creative process is as chaotic and as random as the D&D session. Although I do have defined beats that I want to get to. There are key moments that the party must hit and interact with to progress the story. So we had the festival in Ventura. They met NPCs. They decided to go north. That's one beat. They get to Iceborne and have the interactions in Iceborne. They got the Blade of Storm's End. They encountered other little side quests and smacked the crap out of the mic there. They have other tidbits and things to pick up with. And now they're heading in the direction of the cults up north. They've learned enough that they're going to go north. And whatever they do up there is going to shape the rest of the story. It genuinely is. They go up, they do a thing, they come back, and they come back to, this and learn things. And it really does just depend on what they want to do and how much the party members push for a given choice or a given direction. But yeah, we'll see how it goes from here. Again, try to keep things close to my chest and not talk too much about the exact plans that I have. But I have found plans for pretty much all the NPCs, all the players. I think I've got some bits for Titus in the very back of my mind. Like, he kind of interacts with the world as he goes, and here's a player, kind of fleshing out his backstory and kind of helping him along. So I'm sure I'll come up with. I've just literally, as I was saying this, I had this little ping go off in my brain. What if? And I went, ooh. So I'm probably going to end this video and immediately go and write something for Titus. But yeah, we'll see. It'll be a bit of fun. It's chaotic, it's fun, it's random. And so long as the party keep hitting the beats and moving along, everything works and everyone's happy. And I just want to tell a good story at the end of the day. I have the story that I want to tell, which is the main beats, and the party are just there helping me tell it. I have the ideas that you want to... yeah, they're the ones... It's like planning a road trip. I know we're going to start here, go past... We're going to start somewhere, we're going to go through these towns, along... There's various routes we can take to get to the end. And the party are in the back of the van, the party are in the back of the car, playing music, saying, oh, let's stop here and get some snacks. We need to go for a toilet break here. And the story, the world just explodes and blooms and grows from there as I sit and write it and I deal with the consequences of what the party have thrown at me. But that is my chaotic, rambling story and process of how I come up with things I come up with. And the names for NPCs, again, I've read the names, so I just come up with a name and go, oh, there's his name, there's that person's name. Or I look at a map or something, a poster I've got in my room and go, oh, that's a name. For God's sake, Salazar Dynasty, that came, Salazar Slytherin, Harry Potter popped in my head one day. I went, oh, there we go. Salazar Dynasty. Kelamentura, well, that's Mentura. Because Kelamentura is, in fact, a compound word. Kela is world of, Mentura is the gods. So, world of the gods, Mentura is the... That's where the name comes from. And Amberino, you might recognize that if you're a fan of Red Dead Redemption 2. It is one of the territories in Red Dead Redemption. So, there's a wee bit of Red Dead Redemption there, inspiration, because I have a map. It literally sits right of my line. And right behind the microphone, there's a map. The wee map you get for Red Dead 2? Yeah, that. So, some of the names are taken from that, but that's all it's taken from them. So, Amberino is literally a territory in Red Dead Redemption. That's the name of the Republic. And the cities and everything else, just kind of, oh, I've heard that name before. Let's make that a name. Let's do... So, yeah. It's random, it pops off, and sometimes place names are a joke, a bit like Ektorp. It's on the map. You've probably seen it in the videos. Ektorp was a joke I made. How do you come up with names for things? Speaking with Nick, I think, at one point. And he basically said, random name generators / the IKEA catalog. And Ektorp is literally a product in the IKEA catalog, which is why Ektorp is a logging town. So yeah, I have an IKEA joke in my world. If anyone's picked up on it, by now, congratulations, but there you go. It's been sitting there for a while, and there's an IKEA joke just sat in the middle of the world map, and I hope people have picked up on it. But yeah, I'm going to call it there because my throat is dry now from talking non-stop, and this is just chaotic and rambling. But I hope you guys enjoyed this little brief peek into the chaos that is my mind and the storytelling process. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed it, and looking forward to seeing you next time. And the next time I post will probably be a recap video for the next session. So, Until then, adventurers, stay safe, take her handy, and see ya.